You're watching Mugen TV RPG Haven. Experience a fantasy like no other.
Hey guys, it's MugenLord here, and I'm back again with another video. And before we begin with today's topic, just want to let you guys know, if you haven't checked out my previous video, which I uploaded Saturday, which is gameplay of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I decided to give hard mode a try for the first time, because in most RPGs, I never really play New Game Plus, or I haven't really played New Game Plus at all, until I decided to give it a try. So you can definitely check it out. I'll be uploading more of my boss fights, utilizing the hard mode in Final Fantasy VII Remake in the near future. So if you're interested in that type of content, make sure you check it out, hit that like button, and maybe leave a comment. So let's dive into today's topic. Today I want to talk about Star Ocean 5, which is Integrity and Faithlessness, which released on the PS4. And I really want to get into this because I feel as though that at this point Square Enix don't know what to do with their other franchises, especially when it comes to JRPGs. I don't know what it is. Square Enix has a library of JRPGs that have so much potential, and this week I'll definitely be going through a lot of their franchises that were really popular in the past but began to fade from existence as time progressed. And today we're going to talk about Star Ocean, mainly Star Ocean 5, because this game has so much potential and it just ended up disappointing me. It feel like the game had some good ideas but really wasn't executed in a way that I thought they should have executed it, and it was just all over the place, and it doesn't live up to the Star Ocean name at all. So pretty much my history with Star Ocean series, it was back during the PS1 era, and if you guys don't know, Star Ocean was an Enix title. Now this is before Square and Enix became one company, because Square was named Squaresoft and Enix was named Enix. They were pretty much competitors to one another. So every time Square dropped a Final Fantasy title, Enix had dropped the title of their own that represented their brand, and it was always a competition between the two. And of course I was more like a big Square fan than I was Enix, because I didn't really know much about Enix. I believe my real interaction with Enix was Star Ocean, and that was Star Ocean's second story that released on the PS1. Now this is back in like the late 90s when this game had released. I believe I was in middle school at the time, and about 7th grade. I believe I was in 7th grade when it released. And I remember when my dad had bought the game, and actually it was on my birthday. My dad had bought me the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and I also wanted Alundra 2 on the PS1. And when my dad had bought that for me, my dad had also bought himself Star Ocean the second story. And while I'm playing my game, I used to watch my dad play Star Ocean second story, and it was something about the music, it was something about the world and the character design that was really intriguing to me. And then once my dad had gotten to the combat system to Star Ocean, which is something that you don't really see for most JRPGs at the time. Most JRPGs were turn-based, so every once in a while you would have a JRPG that was like action, like action heavy, or have some form of freedom that allows you to move your character around a 3D playing field, or just around a playing field altogether, and you're able to command your party members any way you want, set their AI, equip different abilities on them. So it was definitely really unique of a title at that time for me, and I used to sit there playing with my Neo Geo Pocket Color and watch them, and I always wanted to play it. So I don't know what it was. A few months had went by, and another title that came out, and I can't remember what the title was, but my father, he pretty much sat the game down and decided to move on to whatever that hot title was, and that was a title that he's really anticipating. Star Ocean second story was something that he just wanted to pick up and just give it a try. He liked it, but once that other title came out, he just moved on. And I remember I was sitting in my room playing Alundra 2. My dad just came into the room, opened the door, and just tossed the game on my lap. When the game hit my lap, I was like, holy crap. I like, what's up? What's going on, Dad? And my dad said, hey, it's yours. You can have it. And oh my God, I was in the middle of Alundra 2 and didn't even save the game. I just turned it off and just popped it in my PlayStation 1 and just fell in love. And what I like about the Star Ocean second story, you had two different characters, two different main protagonists that you can choose from, and you be able to see the story. Even though there's one rooted story, you're able to see the story from a different perspective, which also I guess you could say increase replayability. So you can play as Claude, then you can go back and play as Rena for the second playthrough, or vice versa. So I just fell in love with the Star Ocean franchise. Now the thing is, when it comes to the Star Ocean games, what you have to understand, Star Ocean is essentially a space opera, and it's always been known to be a space opera. It introduced me to a whole new world of JRPGs. You know, like the way they did it is, if you pick Claude, you're pretty much the protagonist thrown into this other world. You're from the future with high-tech technology, thrown into a more, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say uncivilized, but you're thrown into a magical world, but it's not as technologically advanced. And as you're going through the game, pretty much both type of worlds collide. Rena represents the magical world, and Claude represents the more technological world. But on Rena's world, there's a legend or a prophecy that a person from this world, they consider heaven, will come down and use the sword of light, which is Claude's laser gun. They see it as the sword of light. So it kind of like, it's just crazy how they just did the story and they put it together. I think it was just well made. Now the thing is about Star Ocean is also a type of game where you also travel sometimes to different planets, different environments. So it gives you that feel of that space opera. Now the thing is, the series, in my point, started to begin its decline was once the third game came out, which is still a good game. Don't get me wrong. I still suggest for you to try out till the end of time for the PS2. But I think the real thing that really disappointed me and really ruined my experience with Till the End of Time was the main plot reveal. When they revealed what the main plot to the game was, the shocking reveal to Till the End of Time, it literally destroyed all my expectations as far as the story. It's not a bad game. I'm gonna repeat that. It's not a bad game at all. It was just the fact is that what they did with the story and how they revealed the story, the main plot behind all of it, really destroyed my enthusiasm to continue forward. But that may not be the case for you. And I think this always has been a debate amongst the fans of Till the End of Time is the actual plot reveal. There's a group of people who love it, and there's a group of people that hate it. But the game definitely began to lose its personality once we get to the Last Hope. The game started becoming more about technological advancement instead of that technological advancement meets the medieval fantasy type of feel to it. And the game started becoming more and more linear. Even though the graphics were visually stunning, I just didn't like the art style too much. But the game definitely began to start to lose its personality. It started to look more like Phantasy Star PSO that released on the Dreamcast and the GameCube, and of course it looks similar to what we see with Phantasy Star Online 2 and also New Genesis. And the game just didn't have that same soul, that same feel as the classic Star Oceans. And my enthusiasm and my hope and everything for the series has just begun to dwindle. And during this time, once Till the End of Time and Last Hope came out, Square Enix and Enix themselves have merged together to become one company. And I definitely want to get into a video with that as well, because it seemed like a lot of these other old franchises began to lose a lot of the things that made them what they were once Square and Enix became one company. And that's definitely going to be a topic to itself. But let's get on to Star Ocean 5, Integrity and Faithlessness. Now, Star Ocean had pretty much disappeared for a very, very long time. We haven't seen it in a few years. And Star Ocean was still on my radar. I used to go on the internet and wonder, I used to type in, will there be another Star Ocean game? Is there another Star Ocean game? I was always looking for some leaks. I was always looking for rumors for the next Star Ocean game. And it was just quiet, nothing. And I remember there was an E3, I believe it was E3 or it was Tokyo Game Show. And by this time, the PS4 had just released not too long ago, and they showed off a trailer to Star Ocean 5, Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness. And from what I saw at first, I was super excited. I said, I can't wait to get my hands on this game. It's about time we get another damn Star Ocean game. And also to remind you too, Tri-Ace, Tri-Ace are known for making these type of games. Star Ocean, they also had their hands, I believe, in the Tales series. So you will find those similarities as far as gameplay. I'm a big Tri-Ace fan. I love their gameplay, and when you see Tri-Ace name on it, you know you're in for a treat when it comes to the game's combat system. But this game right here was such a disappointment once the game released. They even had a collector's edition for the game, which I missed out on because collector's edition pre-orders just went out, like they just sold out instantly the moment the game was announced. So it was kind of a bummer that I didn't get a chance to have my hands on it. Now, what makes this game such a wasted potential is they had good ideas, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but they were poorly executed, and we're going to get into that. I think the first good idea that they had with the game is the party member system. Now, I'm gonna go through a brief chronological history of what Square Enix seemed to be trying to aim for and reach when it comes to its party systems. Now, you know, with most traditional JRPGs is when as your party member count begins to increase, there's always some type of mechanic or some type of system to allow you to switch your party members out. Some games allow you to open up the menu system, go to your formation, and just swap characters out, and the other characters are on reserve. And then you have other games to where you can't switch party members unless you're on a world map, similar to like Final Fantasy VII, or if you're at a save point, then you're allowed to switch party members out. But it seemed like what Square Enix were trying to pretty much, I guess you could say, break into and try something different. It seemed like each new Square Enix game they released, they tried to implement a way to have allow the players to have all their party members on, like, playable during combat, so you didn't have to worry about, oh man, like only this group of characters that I'm currently playing right now is getting a crap ton of experience points, while my reserve party is getting a little bit or not getting experience points at all. So when you get into these situations where the story have separated your characters, then you are forced to use the weaker characters that you failed to level up because you have a set of characters that you level up so much. So that's why in most RPGs I always have a designated party leader, and then once I get them to a certain level, like 3 levels ahead, then I will switch to the next party leader with the other half of the party and get them to the same level, because I didn't want to get into those situations, because Final Fantasy IX really sets you up with that. So it seemed like what Square Enix was doing, if you look at the games like Infinite Undiscovery, which is an Xbox exclusive that Square Enix had made for Microsoft for the Xbox 360, this was the first game that actually had all your party members on the field at the same time. Now, the parties, your designated party that you have, are on the field fighting, you can level up, but what they did was they had these open areas that split up into sections. So when you go out into the field, you can select your designated party, and then whatever other characters that are on reserve, they are used on the battlefield on the other side of the battlefield. So as you're fighting enemies, you can look across the battlefield on the other side, which you really can't go onto the other side because the battlefield is split, and they do it in a way where it's divided by canyons, or if you're in a dungeon, it's divided by walls, but you're able to see the other party members fighting their way through the dungeon. Especially when you get to Infinite Undiscovery's final level, we get to the boss dungeon, we get to climb up to the tower because you're trying to reach to the moon. You can see your other party members on the other side because they have to reach the other side so you can do this puzzle together. So they found a way to have all your party members to give you that illusion that all your party members are on the field at the same time. And then you move into Last Hope. What Last Hope did, while you're in the middle of combat, you're allowed to switch party members in and out. So everybody is technically out there fighting in the battlefield, and everyone is able to get the experience that's necessary for them to level up, so no one is being left behind. And then if you look at Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission, the Yuffie DLC, there's hints that there's going to be possible gameplay mechanics with the synergy system that Yuffie and Sona have moving forward to Final Fantasy Remake Part 2, which we'll definitely get into, because I think I have some theories of how they may be going forward with that as well. So stay tuned for that. So that's what I enjoyed. That was the good idea. All your party members are on the field with Star Ocean 5, all of them. So you have to take account of all your party members. When you run into your random encounters, everyone is there, and you're able to switch around back and forth. It can get a little bit chaotic, but I think that was enjoyable. You have to keep a track of everybody. You switch, you give out commands, set up their AI, which was another thing that I think Square Enix definitely perfected, is the AI system, similar to the Gambit system in Final Fantasy 12, where you can tweak the AI as much as possible, where the characters are you're pretty much essentially a programmer at this point, where you can actually set their AI as accurate as possible, and they would definitely respond to it. So you didn't really have to worry about managing too much once you had the best setup for the character's AI that you're not using during battle. So I think they really did have good ideas in regards of the combat and the party system. So another thing you need to know about this game as well, this was also supposed to be a PS3 game, but after that they had to essentially move development over to the PS4, since the PS4 was in development at the time and looking to be revealed and have a launch window. So they took the development team and they essentially moved it over to there. Now the thing is, you can tell that the game looks kind of dated in a way, but at the same time what makes up for it is because of the PS4 architecture and also the frame rate. The frame rate makes the game look gorgeous, the way it moves, the lighting and everything. So I give them that. Square Enix is good when it comes to that. Now another thing too, this game was also given a smaller team and also a smaller budget. It seems as though that they wanted to just have a Star Ocean game out, just put out there, and they just threw them a smaller budget and said, hey, just work on this game. And you can definitely tell by that, because there's a lot of reused assets in Star Ocean 5, mainly with the main character. He borrows the same assets and movements and attack animations as Fate Line God and Star Ocean 3 to the End of Time on the PS2, and that was really a bummer. And you see the similarities even in their character design as well, and I was really upset. I was like, really? Like, most of this is borrowed assets, and they even borrowed like a lot of the songs from Till the End of Time as well, and they put into the game. So there was kind of like they was cutting corners with that due to the budget, and I think that wasn't fair to the series, because when developers do that and cut corners, and if it doesn't sell well, then they turn around and say, hey, I guess people didn't really want this series to come back, or they didn't like it, so we'll just close this franchise off, we'll kill it off. And that's not the case if you're definitely cutting corners, especially you're Square Enix. You're a big company, and that was just a shame that they did that to Star Ocean. Now, as far as the combat is concerned, this is where I really take issue with, because I think with the combat is what made me fall in love with Star Ocean the most. Because in previous titles, when it comes to the combat, it allowed player expression, especially when it comes to the combo system. And what they did was they limited to only 2 attack buttons, and depending on how long you hold the button, changes what version of the attack that you get. So, and then when you apply your special moves, you only can apply 2 different special attacks. So your character was pretty much limited to smaller combos. So you didn't really have a lot of expression when it comes to the combos. And not only that, you kind of find yourself doing the same combo strings over and over again. You see the same animations over and over again, and that was really a bummer, because I used to sit there all day with the previous Star Ocean games just doing crazy combos, crazy setups, and switching into my other party members to add on to what I did with the previous characters, setting the combos up. And you really don't get enough of that, or a lot of that at all, with Star Ocean 5. And then not only that, I don't know what it is, but they decided there's really no level system to this game. You really don't level up, and it's really weird to me. So you really don't have any sense of how you're progressing, through the game with your characters and everything. And now the goal is too, there's a meter on the side that allow you to increase the amount of XP that you get. You get XP, but you don't see your level. I don't understand. I really don't understand, and I'm really puzzled. And then the difficulty curve, for some reason in this game, is so wacky, because at one moment, and I put in quotes, leveling, and as you're grinding, you're breezing through the game, then out of nowhere, the difficulty crank up at the weirdest moments of the game, where you feel as though, like, wait a minute, like, I did level up, I did learn these skills, I'm breezing through this, why? And now I get to this section, the game just gets difficult out of nowhere. Like the difficulty goes up, it goes down, it goes up. And especially when you get to the end of the game, the difficulty curve definitely shoots up out of nowhere. It kind of reminds me, the difficulty at the end, it feels like a traditional Star Ocean game. But in the older games, you built up to that. This game is just like they just throw it at you at these random spots. And I really didn't like that. It just didn't make sense to me. And then the biggest gripe that I have is how linear the game is. In this game, like I mentioned in a previous video where I talked about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, how they deal with exploration. With this game is linear, and they give you this illusion that the game is open because there's a lot of open fields, but with the open fields, one, there's not much to do with it, and two, the open field makes the world feel so small because when you get into the open field, you have a zone to your left, a zone to your right, maybe north and south, and each of those zones take you to different locations. And when you get to those locations, you go from a grassland, but if you go to this zone, next thing you know, you're in a desert land, or you at a snowland, and things like everything feels so close together, so the world feels so much smaller because everything's interconnected by one massive map. And then you go into another massive map, and then it connects you to somewhere else. So everything feels so congested, so close together. And another thing too, there's no airship, there's no world map, so everything just feels so confined. It really does. And that's another thing that I didn't like about it. Now, questing in the game. Compared to the previous Star Ocean games, this Star Ocean game has a quest board, which I'm not gonna lie, I do like quest boards because it makes things easier. Everything is right there. I don't have to do a lot of running around, but I still like that aspect of traveling and encouraging traveling and exploring the village or the castle towns that you're in to find various NPCs in order to get the quests that you need. But the quest board is there. You go to the quest board, you get the quests that you want. But I wish they did have NPC quests at the same time so you could mix things up a bit, and they could have just left it to where the special quests to take you to to get you to hit better items or whatever like that could have been done through talking to the NPCs. But then you think about it, the towns, which I want to focus on too. The towns are so much smaller, or they give you the illusion that they're so much bigger, but there's not much to do in them, if not nothing to do in them at all. And then the NPCs don't really have much to say compared to the original Star Ocean games. There's a lot of NPCs within the original game where there's a lot to say. It gives you insights on the town or the world that's around them to give you an idea of how the people feel, how the people think, and that's what made the world feel so much believable, especially in Star Ocean's second story. There was so much NPCs in the second story, so much, and the towns were so much bigger that you had to actually travel and explore every nook and cranny in order to find different quests and everything. And they kind of stripped that down with this game. Now, an important feature that they had in the original Star Ocean is called solo interactions. Well, they brought this back. So what is a solo interaction? Solo interactions is essentially where before you enter a town on the world map, this button will show up that will say solo interaction or something like that. You press the circle button, and what it essentially does is it splits the party up, which means the party is no longer in your party. They all actually explore the town. Now, what this does is it allows you to formulate relationships, affinity with each character. You build, so it gives you more backstory with the characters, it gives you side story with the characters, and it allows you to build that relationship, which also affects how you perform in battle with those characters. And it also affected the ending in Star Ocean games, especially Star Ocean to the second story, where you had 20 different endings or 80 different endings. But don't let that scare you. These are like slight interaction changes with the characters by the time you reach the end of the game, so don't allow that to actually scare you away from the game. So it encouraged a lot of replayability. But in this game, there's really not too much of a point with solo interactions because of how small the towns are, and there's really not much to do with the solo interactions with this game. It's like they just threw it in there because it's a traditional thing to do. Now, another thing that was unique to the Star Ocean series too is that they done away with the old Star Ocean games when it came to your party members, is that there were like 8 or 9 characters in the game, but you were only allowed to get like 7, I believe. And that was dependent on what decisions you make when you interact with certain characters within the story. You could either put them into your party, or you ignore them, or you turn them down when they ask to join your party. So the thing is, when you do that, it allows you to open the gateway to getting the other characters. Now, once you have a set party member, set 7 characters, the other characters, you will meet them in the story, but you don't really have much interactions with them, and they pretty much do their thing, and they just go about their business, and you never see them again. So I do like what they did with the later Star Ocean games when it comes to the parties. I want to have all my characters. I don't want any of my characters left out, but I believe they also did that for replayability, but I kind of like they just ditched away that system. I have all my characters. Then you have your crafting system, like traditional. Now, the thing is, the crafting system is not as intricate because, oh boy, don't get me into a second story crafting system. I think the crafting system is really a mechanic that I really hate, even though it's deep and there's a lot of things that you can get with crafting, but I just don't like the intricacy behind it and stuff like that. But this one was kind of like bare bones, very simple and stuff, so I kind of like ignored that. Now, as far as the story is concerned, this is one of the shortest Star Ocean games. You can beat this game in like 20 hours. 20 or 25 if you try to do a lot of the questing and stuff. You can beat it in 25. And the developer said that they wanted this Star Ocean to be a gateway to new people who knew nothing or know nothing of Star Ocean. And you can definitely feel that. They did, because especially with the budget. In this game, Star Ocean, as far as the story is concerned, the game just starts. There's no opening cutscene. The game just takes you to the town, and then they just throw you in the game. They also, I don't know why they did this, there's no cutscenes in the game. And what I mean by that is, there's no segment where there's a fixed camera angle and you watch the characters interact to get your story. Everything is live, meaning that when you have character interactions, you're allowed to move the camera angle and you're allowed to walk around while the important story bits are happening. And I don't know why they did that. There was like every once in a while, like there may have been like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 cutscenes, but everything else, no cutscenes. You're able to walk around and you're able to just interrupt these cutscenes. Like you can miss important story bits because of the distraction by moving your character around. You can never really position your characters just right. And it seemed like when the characters are talking, if you're moving around, it's like the characters are talking to a wall, talking to air. And I don't know why they did that. And also in this game, most Star Ocean games, you actually go into space and maybe even travel to other planets. This game doesn't. You're confined to one planet, and there's only one point where you actually go to a spaceship, but the spaceship is just a story set piece. You don't really do much inside the spaceship at all, and you end up getting teleported back down to the planet, which was also a bummer. And I don't know why they just did that, but that was pretty much just that part of Star Ocean 5 that really took it out for me. The story wasn't as interesting at all. It felt more like a generic RPG storyline, very cliche. You find a little girl. This little girl has special powers, and these special powers could be a threat to the entire universe. It was just very cliche. It definitely was, and I definitely hope that when this next Star Ocean come out, that they change this aspect in terms of gameplay, in terms of story, and from what we've seen so far with the next Star Ocean games. But I've been burnt twice with Last Hope and Star Ocean 5, so I really have tempered my expectations. My expectations are really low going in, and I wasn't hyped for the new reveal because I do have some issues with that, and I'll get into that with another video. And I think this is either make or break it for Star Ocean moving forward with the next one. I think it really does have identity crisis in terms of looks and feel when it comes to these newer Star Ocean games, and I don't know why they keep going down this route with this hyper sci-fi approach with the characters and the designs and everything. But we'll get into that in another video. That wraps this up. I definitely want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Star Ocean 5 or the Star Ocean series in general? Do you think Star Ocean 5 was a wasted potential? Because I definitely believe it was a wasted potential. So many missed opportunities with this. I definitely want to hear your thoughts. What was the first Star Ocean that got you into the series? And tell me why you like Star Ocean so much. And do you have hope with the Star Ocean series moving forward with the next title, Star Ocean 6? Definitely want to hear your thoughts. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to just stay informed with more Star Ocean or just JRPG news, hit the bell to be notified, and also hit that subscribe button. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you Game Fiends later. Peace out.